Before you spend that Lincoln penny, stop and look again, because some of the most valuable Abraham Lincoln cents don't look perfect at all. A tiny doubled word, a strange strike, the wrong metal feel, even a small mint mark can turn a 1-cent coin into a collector target. In this series, Legacy Coins USA breaks down the top Lincoln penny dates and the real error signs collectors pay for, so you can check your pocket change like a pro. If you want deep, serious coin hunts and honest value clues, subscribe now and grab your coin jar, because your next find might already be in your hand. Let's get started. The 1963 Lincoln cent is a classic U.S. memorial penny featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse with Liberty at the left and "In God We Trust" across the top, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse with United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and 1 cent. It belongs to the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909, but 1963 specifically sits in the memorial design era, 1959 to 2008, which replaced the earlier wheat reverse. Collectors like 1963 because it's old enough to be historically interesting and made of the older copper-based alloy, yet common enough that people still find it in jars and inherited collections, making it perfect for learning how condition and small details control value. In historical context, 1963 is a pre-1964 copper-era cent, struck before later changes that altered how pennies were made and how they look in circulation. A 1963 cent is not steel and not a modern zinc core coin. It was produced in a bronze alloy, mostly copper with small amounts of tin and zinc, which is why it often tones to brown over time and, when well preserved, can show attractive red or red-brown color. That metal composition matters to collectors because copper surfaces are sensitive, they pick up fingerprints, spots, and hairlines easily, and those surface problems can dramatically reduce collector appeal even when the date is popular. For collectors, the first major up or down factor is the mint issue. Check the front of the coin under the date. If there is no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. If there is a D, it was struck in Denver. San Francisco cents with an S are not a typical business strike 1963 cent for general circulation in the same way people expect, so for most everyday finds you're usually choosing between no mint mark and D. Mint marks don't automatically make a coin rare, but they help narrow down which die varieties and population levels matter when you start comparing higher grade examples or looking up known error listings. Condition is the biggest value driver and the main reason two 1963 pennies can have wildly different collector interest. In circulated condition, you'll usually see flattening on Lincoln's cheek and jaw, soft hair detail above the ear, and nicks on the rims. On the reverse, the memorial's fine lines and steps can blur together. In uncirculated condition, the coin should still have original mint luster that rolls under light, with sharp lettering and cleaner fields. Copper color is also graded in a practical way. Red examples, with most of the original red mint color, generally command more attention than red-brown, and both are usually more desirable than brown, assuming surfaces are natural and not messed with. A deep collector note that matters a lot for 1963 cents is surface originality, especially the issue of cleaning. Many people try to make an old penny shiny, but cleaning typically leaves tiny hairline scratches and an unnatural brightness that experienced collectors spot instantly. Even if a clean coin looks better to a beginner, it often becomes less valuable to the market because it loses that natural, undisturbed look. The safest handling advice is simple but serious: hold it by the edges, don't rub it, don't use chemicals, and store it in a basic coin flip or capsule if you believe it might be higher grade. Where the real excitement begins is in mint errors and variety coins, because that's how a common date becomes a conversation piece. Potentially valuable error types include true double die varieties, strewn, separated doubling in letters or numbers that is part of the design, off-center strikes where part of the blank is visible, especially if the date remains visible, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and notable die breaks or cuds that create raised blobs along the rim. Strike-through errors, from grease or debris, can also occur, causing missing or distorted design elements that look unusual but are consistent with mint-made problems. The key is that genuine mint errors tend to have coherent, manufacturing-style characteristics rather than random dents, corrosion, or scratches. It's also important to understand what does not add value, because a lot of online hype comes from misidentified errors. Machine doubling is common and can look like a flat, shelf-like shadow on letters very different from the bold, notched look of many true doubled dies. Environmental damage, corrosion, heat exposure, and impact marks can create dramatic-looking coins that are still considered damaged rather than collectible errors. If you're making a serious YouTube script, this real versus damage section is what earns trust. it keeps viewers excited while protecting them from false expectations and scams. In terms of value, most 1963 pennies found in everyday circulated condition are modest, often just face value to a small premium depending on eye appeal, because huge numbers were made and many survive. The coins that move into collector money are typically high-grade, problem-free uncirculated examples with strong luster and attractive original color, and the coins that can jump higher still are dramatic, clearly mint-made errors or top-tier examples certified by major grading services. If you want, upload clear, straight-on photos of both sides in good natural light and a close-up of the date/mint mark area, and I'll describe your specific coin's condition, circulated versus uncirculated signs, point out anything that looks like a real error, and give a realistic value bracket based on what's actually visible. Keep a close eye on your change because that hidden treasure might be sitting right in your pocket. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a big find. Stay tuned, because in the next video, we're diving into another legendary coin that could be worth a small fortune. Next up, a classic US penny with Abraham Lincoln on the front, Liberty at the left, In God We Trust across the top, and the date with a D mint mark showing it was struck at the Denver Mint. The reverse for 1964 is the Lincoln Memorial design with United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 cent. It's an important coin for collectors not because it's automatically rare, but because it sits in a highly collected era of American coinage, and it's the kind of coin almost everyone can actually find, which makes it a perfect entry point into understanding what truly drives value, mint identity, condition, originality, and legitimate errors. Historically, 1964 is a huge year in U.S. coin collecting because it's the last year when U.S. dimes and quarters were made of 90% silver, and half dollars still had significant silver content too. Pennies are different, they were not silver, but the 1964 date became famous because Americans were saving coins heavily during that period, and the hobby's attention on 1964 is unusually strong. Your 1964 D cent also belongs to the earlier copper-based Lincoln cent era, long before modern zinc core cents, which gives it the heavier traditional feel and the classic way copper tones over time. That old copper cent identity is part of the collector appeal even when the date itself is common. From a technical and collector standpoint, a 1964 D cent is a bronze alloy cent, mostly copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. That composition matters because copper surfaces are extremely sensitive. Fingerprints, moisture, and improper storage can create spots, streaks, or dark toning that permanently changes eye appeal. Collectors also pay attention to color designations on copper coins. A coin that still shows strong original red mint color is generally more desirable than red-brown, and both are usually preferred over fully brown, assuming the surfaces are natural and not cleaned. Two coins with the same date can look totally different because copper ages differently depending on how it was handled. When collectors evaluate value, condition is the main up or down lever. Circulated examples show wear on Lincoln's cheekbone and jaw, flattening in the hair above the ear, and softer details in the memorial steps and columns on the reverse. Uncirculated examples should still have original mint luster that moves under light, with sharper lettering and fewer contact marks. One of the most serious warnings in this hobby is also the simplest: never clean the coin. Cleaning often leaves fine hairlines and an unnatural shine that experienced buyers spot immediately, and it can drop the value sharply even if the coin looks brighter to a beginner. The most exciting category for a 1964 D cent is a genuine mint error or recognized die variety, because that's how a common date coin becomes a standout. Collectible error types can include off-center strikes, especially if the date remains visible, clipped planchets, broad strikes, strike-through errors, from grease or debris, and significant die breaks/cuds that leave raised blobs or cracks. Some cents show doubling-like effects, but true double die varieties are a specific kind of die-making mistake and need clear, strong, separated doubling to be taken seriously. The reason this matters is that the market rewards errors that are obvious, mint-made, and verifiable, not just weird-looking damage. A lot of online hype comes from confusion between real errors and post-mint damage, so a serious collector approach always includes skepticism. Machine doubling is common and can look like a flat, shelf-like shadow on letters. It's usually not the same as a true double die that shows distinct, rounded, separated design elements. Corrosion, heat damage, and tool marks can create dramatic distortions that are considered damage rather than collectible mint mistakes. The safest path is to inspect with a loupe or phone macro, compare to verified examples, and keep the coin unaltered while you research. In terms of value, most 1964D pennies in normal circulated condition are modest and often trade around face value to a small premium depending on eye appeal, because the date and mint are widely available. Value rises with problem-free uncirculated condition, especially with strong original red color, and it can rise further for dramatic, authenticated errors or top-grade pieces certified by major grading services. If you want, tell me whether your coin looks bright red, red-brown, or dark brown, and whether you see anything unusual, doubling, off-center strike, odd rim, missing letters, and I'll help you frame it as a deep, serious YouTube script plus a realistic what it could be worth explanation based on those details. Next up. The 1968D Lincoln cent is a Denver minted U.S. penny with Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, Liberty at left, In God We Trust across the top, and the date with a clear D mint mark. On the reverse for 1968 you're in the Lincoln Memorial era, with United States of America and E pluribus unum above the memorial and 1 cent below. It's a coin most people have seen, but collectors treat it seriously because it comes from a transitional moment in U.S. minting when small details like mint marks, strike quality, and surface preservation started to matter even more in separating everyday coins from collectible ones. From a history angle, 1968 is notable because mint marks returned to U.S. coins after being removed from 1965 to 1967. That makes 1968D part of the mint marks are back storyline that collectors love. It's easy to explain, it's easy for viewers to verify on their own coin, and it creates a strong sense that this penny belongs to a specific chapter in U.S. coinage history. It's also a period when coin demand and production pressures were still influencing quality, so you can naturally talk about why some 1968 cents look weakly struck while others look sharp and brilliant. Technically, a 1968D cent is a pre-zinc, copper-alloy Lincoln cent, bronze-type composition, which means it behaves like classic copper in the real world, it tones, it spots, and it shows fingerprints quickly. That's a huge collector detail because copper coins can look worse than they really are if they were stored badly, and they can look better than they should if they were cleaned, yet cleaning is one of the fastest ways to kill collector value. In a serious script, you can explain that collectors pay for originality, the right color, the right texture, and surfaces that look natural rather than polished or chemically altered. When you talk value, build the story around condition and eye appeal rather than the date alone. Most 1968D cents are common in circulated grades, so the average coin is usually only a small premium over face value at best. The coins that climb are uncirculated examples with strong luster, minimal marks, and attractive original color, especially pieces that still show significant red mint color rather than turning fully brown. Even within uncirculated, there's a major difference between a nice coin and a coin that looks almost flawless under light, because top-end collectors compete for the cleanest certified examples. A deeper collector detail that makes 1968D interesting on camera is strike quality on the Lincoln Memorial reverse. Many memorial cents show softness in the memorial steps or columns, so a sharply struck coin with crisp lines can stand out. On the obverse, look for sharpness in Lincoln's hair above the ear and clear separation in facial details. Weakness there can indicate strike issues or wear. This lets you teach viewers a pro habit: don't just read the date, evaluate the coin's sharpness and luster as if you were judging how carefully it was made and how gently it survived. For the treasure hunt part, errors and varieties are where a 1968D cent can become truly exciting. Collectible mint errors can include off-center strikes, especially desirable if the date remains visible, clipped planchets, a curved bite-like missing piece, broad strikes, die breaks and rim cuts, raised blobs at the edge, and strike-through errors where debris or grease caused missing or distorted design elements. You can also mention that genuine double die varieties exist in the Lincoln cent world, but viewers should look for strong, clean, separated doubling, not blurry shadows, because many coins show machine doubling that collectors typically don't pay premiums for. Because your tone is deep and serious, it's worth including the part most viral videos skip: how to avoid false finds. Damage after leaving the mint can mimic errors, heat can discolor copper, corrosion can pit it, and tools can scrape letters into looking doubled. The simplest credibility rule is this: if the effect looks random and rough, it's often damage; if it looks consistent, repeated, and part of the strike, it may be a true mint-made variety. Also, never use magnets to prove anything on a normal 1968 cent. Copper alloy cents aren't supposed to be magnetic, and magnet tests won't confirm value. Clear photos in comparison to verified references do far more. In real collector markets, the smartest way to present a 1968D cent is as a common coin with uncommon possibilities. Most are inexpensive, but a high-grade, original, red luster example or a dramatic, verifiable mint error can be legitimately collectible and sometimes surprisingly valuable relative to 1 cent. If someone believes they found a standout, the professional path is to store it safely, photograph both sides with close-ups of the date/mint mark and the area of interest, compare it to known varieties, and consider third-party grading only if the coin truly looks uncirculated or the error is dramatic. If you want, tell me what looks special about your 1968D, color, shine, any doubling, odd rim, off-center, and I'll shape this into a tighter YouTube script that sounds like a confident narrator and fits you. Next up. US 1 cent coin with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, carrying the familiar inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date on the front, and "United States of America, E Pluribus Unum," and 1 cent on the back. It's part of the Memorial cent era, which means it has the clean, architectural reverse that collectors use as a visual shortcut to separate modern-style pennies from the earlier wheat reverse. In a serious collector conversation, 1969 is interesting because it can be extremely ordinary in most conditions, yet it also sits in a time period where a small number of varieties and errors have become famous and highly hunted. From a history and production angle, 1969 is deep into the post-1950s expansion of U.S. coinage, when cents were being produced heavily to meet everyday commerce. That high output matters because it increases the chance of minor die wear, die cracks, and strike weakness showing up across the series. It also means many 1969 cents were heavily handled, so truly clean survivors are less common than people assume. If you're building a YouTube script, you can frame 1969 as a mass-production coin where the story isn't just the year, it's what slipped through the system and what managed to survive untouched. Metal composition is one of the strongest new style points you can use for 1969. A genuine 1969 cent is a copper alloy, bronze type, coin from the pre-1982 era, not the later copper-plated zinc core used for most modern cents. That matters because copper coins tone and spot differently, and they also have different weight expectations than the zinc era. Collectors care because composition helps confirm authenticity and era, and it also influences how the coin should look under light. Older copper cents often show a warmer, deeper color range, from blazing original red to red-brown to chocolate brown, depending on storage and handling. The next collector up or down lever is mint identification, because 1969 cents were struck at multiple mints. On the obverse, look for the mint mark below the date. No mint mark indicates Philadelphia, D indicates Denver, and S indicates San Francisco. Each mint has its own collecting base, and for some years, one mint's best quality examples can be tougher in top grades than in others. Even when all are common in circulated condition, mint mark becomes essential when you're researching varieties and when you're comparing your coin to auction records or certified population data. Condition grading is where a serious script can sound genuinely professional without getting boring. In circulated grades, watch Lincoln's cheek and jaw for smoothness, the coat lines for fading, and the rims for dings. On the reverse, check whether the memorial's central lines and steps are crisp or mushy. In uncirculated grades, the coin should still show original mint luster, and any marks you see will usually be contact marks rather than wear. Copper also adds a second layer to grading. A coin can be uncirculated but still less desirable if it has ugly carbon spots, fingerprints, or blotchy toning, because those surface issues are permanent and can hold the value down. If you want the headline angle for 1969, the coin world's most famous target is the 1969 S double die obverse, often abbreviated as 1969 SDDO. This is a real, dramatic variety where the doubling is strong and obvious on key inscriptions and the date, and it's one of the most talked about doubled dies in US cents because it can command very high prices when authenticated. The important serious note is that this isn't any doubling and it isn't a normal 1969, it's a specific San Francisco variety that must be verified, because many coins show machine doubling that looks like a flat shadow and is not the same thing. If you're teaching viewers, the correct message is, big, clean, separated doubling is the clue, and authentication is what turns a claim into a collectible fact. Beyond famous doubled dies, 1969 cents can still show legitimate mint errors that collectors enjoy, especially when they're visually dramatic. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and strong die breaks/cuts can all appear in this era, and they're the kind of errors that make great video close-ups because the viewer can immediately see something is wrong. Strike-through errors are also a real category, where grease or debris causes missing design detail in a way that looks unusual but mint-made. The market generally rewards errors that are obvious, attractive, and not damaged after the fact, so the same error type can be worth far more in a clean, problem-free coin. A serious collector also learns to separate mint-made from afterward damage, and copper cents are especially prone to confusion. Heat can darken copper, chemicals can create unnatural colors, and scraping can mimic double lettering. One of the most common traps is cleaning. It can make a coin shiny, but it usually leaves hairline scratches and removes natural surfaces, which experienced collectors discount heavily. For a 1969 cent, originality is often more important than brightness, so the best advice is always, don't clean it, don't polish it, and store it safely while you research. When people ask about value, the realistic answer depends on which lane your coin fits into. A typical circulated 1969 cent is usually worth face value or a small premium at most, because it's common. A truly uncirculated, high appeal example can be worth more to collectors, especially if it has strong original red color and minimal spots. A major variety like the 1969's double die obverse, or a dramatic authenticated mint error, can move into a completely different price bracket, but those are the exceptions, and they require clear diagnostics and often professional verification. Hold on to your coins, because the smallest details are where the real stories live, and sometimes the rarest piece is the one everyone else would have spent without looking. If you want more deep, serious coin hunts and real collector checks, subscribe to Legacy Coins USA and meet me in the next video. Your best find could already be in your pocket.